hell is this? Wait a minute. You don't think this could actually be a TARDIS? Wow! It really is bigger on the inside. Hey everyone, I'm here to give my review on the Day of the Doctor, as well as give a preview and my thoughts on what's going to happen on the upcoming Christmas special, The Time of the Doctor. Now, for Doctor Who, this is a big year because this is the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who. Now, I don't know of any other shows out there that have made it that far and that long on TV. I mean, besides maybe soap operas and, news programs. Other than that, can't think of any. So that's a big accomplishment. So they've been taking this year and sort of celebrating the entire year of this 50th anniversary. And they did so by focusing on each of the 11 Doctors up to this point. And they did this by showing old episodes of each Doctor, as well as a biography of each actor that played the Doctor, as well as behind the scenes of the times of each of these Doctors. So it was definitely quite the celebration all year round, and it all accumulates up until this moment, the Day of the Doctor, which is the 50th anniversary episode. Now, Stephen Moffat always said this was going to be a big event, and you know what? To a certain extent, I think it lived up to the hype. I mean, there was points that I was a little bit disappointed about, but overall, I think it was a great episode. It was definitely everything a Doctor Who episode was supposed to be, and everything an anniversary episode is supposed to be. Well, the story sort of takes place after the Name of the Doctor, when we find out that there is a hidden incarnation of the Doctor, played by John Hurt, that has never been mentioned at this point because he is supposed to renounce the Name of the Doctor and sort of become this war doctor. He's supposed to be the one that ends the time war. And he does so, according, of course, what we've known in the past, by burning both Gallifrey and the Daleks all at the same time. Pretty much creating genocide. And putting the time war into a time lock so no one else could ever travel back in time to save the Daleks or Gallifrey, or stop the Doctor from doing what he had to do. Well, it started off in the episode more about the Zygons, which were one of the alien races that were supposed to be one of the bad guys in this episode. And it was surrounding their plot on overtaking the Earth. And this is sort of how all three Doctors met. But I'll take you back a little bit. It did show a point of the Time War, as Matt Smith was coming into the art gallery, where you saw in the previews, he saw the fall of Arcadia, which was the painting was called Gallifrey Falls or No More. So, but while he was looking at this painting, he had a flashback, sort of what happened during the Time War, and this is with a time when we actually got to see what happened. What was the big fuss about? And we saw massive Dalek ships firing upon Gallifrey, as well as new, never before seen, smaller, like, starfighters, I guess you could say, of Daleks, That was something we'd never seen before. And it was interesting because every other episode I've ever seen involving Daleks in space, it's usually just the Dalek himself actually flying through space. The first time we've actually seen him in some sort of vehicle. So that was kind of interesting to see. But I was a little disappointed by John Hurt's portrayal during this particular point because in The Night of the Doctor, he was portrayed as the War Doctor, as the one that was able to fight, the one that was able to end the Time War. And besides taking a laser rifle from one of the soldiers on Gallifrey and shooting up on the wall saying no more, I didn't really see no fight in him. And after that, he was more like every other Doctor to me. I don't really understand the fact of them saying that he was a warrior, because he didn't really portray that much as a warrior. I mean, true, they didn't show before that, because when they showed The Night of the Doctor, apparently he started out young, and over the time period of fighting this war, he became the old man he is in the episode. So I guess I feel cheated that I didn't get to see that part of him, because it would have been nice, because there's always been this dark side to the Doctor that's been hinted at, especially with the Valeyard, and his nicknames of the Beast, I think the Destroyer of Worlds, you know, all those little apocalyptic names that you hear from Doctor Who. And we really didn't get a chance to explore that dark side. But it did get up to the point of where he was going to finally end the war. And it was going to be with the moment, which was mentioned first time in The End of Time, when Time Lords made one last effort at the end of the Time War to escape death and also end time to become beings of just pure energy. Now, at that time, it wasn't elaborated exactly what the moment was. He just said that the Doctor still had the moment and he could use it at any time. Well, it ends up being an intelligent weapon, some kind of galaxy eater. And being that it had an intelligence, it decided to form a figure from his past, or well, technically his future from John Hurt's point of view. And it formed into Billie Piper, which I found fascinating. I thought they were going to actually bring Rose Tyler into the storyline. They did in a sort of way, because she was an image of Rose Tyler, but she was also the Bad Wolf, which I'll get back to that in a second when I get to the interesting parts that I saw. And I guess apparently the weapon wanted to make sure that it was absolutely necessary to use it. So it gave him a chance to meet his future incarnations and see what happens as a result of him destroying Gallifrey and ending the war. So this is where David Tennant comes in, and we find out about the Zygon plot. And he's in the Queen Elizabeth the first time. And he's trying to figure out what is exactly the Zygons are up to. He's faced them before. We've only seen him fight them one time in the Tom Baker era. So it was nice to see him return in even better designed makeup and whatnot. But it's during this time that David Tennant's Doctor sees the portal, which was formed by the moment. And this allowed Matt Smith's Doctor, the 11th Doctor, to teleport to where he was at and have them meet up. And then another portal comes up, and this is when John Hurt joins them. And it was hilarious watching these three interact. It was very interesting, especially Matt Smith and David Tennant. Their doctors are very distinct. We got to know them real well, and we always wondered how they would react with each other, just like a lot of you wondered how maybe Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant would have reacted. It would have been nice to see him in this series, in this episode, I should say, but that wasn't going to happen. So, that's when we find out what the Zygon plot was. And the Zygon plot was to take over the Earth, because apparently during the Time War, their planet was destroyed, so they needed a new home planet, and they chose Earth. But unfortunately, at this time, we weren't advanced enough for them, so they had to find a way to lock themselves up in stasis until our planet was more cultivated, more technologically advanced. So they used the technology of the Time Lords, which was these stasis cubes, which produced these 3D paintings, which it was much more than just a painting. It captured a point in time in like a pocket universe. And was going to use this method as a way of staying in stasis until our planet was ready. Well, of course, the doctors had no intentions of letting this happen, but it was already taking place when Matt Smith had went to the art museum, because they'd already broken out during the time, and they were already taking over UNIT and becoming members of UNIT by, of course, their shape-shifting abilities. When the doctors finally escaped from the Zygons in Queen Elizabeth's time, thanks to the help of Queen Elizabeth, they had to come back to the present. But unfortunately, the place, the Tower of London, which was apparently some kind of secret museum for forbidden paintings or something, apparently it was TARDIS-proof. At least that's what was thought. And there was no way to transport themselves with the TARDIS inside, so they had to figure a way. And that's when they decided they were going to use the very same things the Zygons used. They were going to use that little point in time, with those stasis cubes. So it was their way of going back to the Time War. And of course, doing so, you got to see that dramatic moment when they were fighting the Daleks together. And Matt Smith got to use his sonic screwdriver and knock the Dalek through the painting. And it came out into the present day time. And of course, they had to have their little dramatic walk as they came on the Zygons. And the little disappointing part was how they stopped the Zygons. You'd think they would come up with something witty or smart, but all they did was use one of the weaponry that was in this museum that pretty much erased the memories of both humans and Zygons, who were disguised as the humans. So they didn't know who was who, because the fact is, the plan that the head of UNIT, which was the Brigadier's daughter, was going to do was she was going to blow up the whole place with a nuke. And the funny part about that is it was similar to what the Doctor was going to do during the Time War, which was use the moment and destroy everything. And the Doctor tried to tell her that's not the way to do things. You don't need to destroy everything. It just needs to be peace. And that's what they did that for. With neither one of them knowing if they were the Zygons or humans, they both didn't want to take the chance, so they stopped the nuke. Because it was voice activated, so all they had to do was the Brigadier's daughter had to just cancel the timer. And as a result, they finally agreed to sit down and have a peace treaty. So, to me, it was a little bit of a cop-out on that part. But then things switched around, and we got to the true plot of the story. Because now, John Hurt, he was supposed to use this moment and reflect on whether or not he should do it. Whether or not he should press that button and unleash the moment. But he saw that the 11th Doctor and the 10th Doctor was perfectly fine after this. Yeah, they had scars, but they were okay. So he thought, you know what? It's worth it. It's worth unleashing the moment. So, saying that, Bad Wolf / Billy Piper / The Moment transported him back into the Time War and back to the actual device. And there it was, red button, ready for him to push, to end it all. But then, in a whisk of wind, 2 more TARDISes appear, and there's the 11th and 12th Doctor. Now, you would have thought maybe they would have tried to stop him, but, I'm glad they didn't go that route in a way. they realize, there's some things you can't change. There's nothing you can do. So instead of letting him do it on his own, they decided they were going to be there to support him and push the button with him, so he wouldn't have to do it alone, which I thought was very touching. It would have been a sad moment. But then, of course, comes out Clara, and she stops him. She says, no, this is not the way it should be done. You do not have to destroy things. This is not what you have to choose. Who are you? You are the doctor. What does the doctor stand for? And that's when Matt Smith's doctor realizes, hey, this is our chance to change the future. Which, the other two were like, we can't do that. But Matt Smith said they always had. This is what they do. They change time. Which, yeah, it's true. Every episode, the doctor's changing time, by saving people. These alien races that he fights are supposed to take over, really. But because he's there, it interrupts time. So, this is where they come up with the plan. What are they going to do to stop the war, stop the Daleks, and save Gallifrey? And that's when it comes up. They're going to put Gallifrey into a pocket universe, similar to the paintings. I see where the paintings are all coming in. It's all connecting now. And as a result, Gallifrey will look like it got destroyed. The Daleks will shoot each other in crossfires and blow up. And so everything that was supposed to happen will still look like it happened. But Gallifrey will be safe. And this is the key moment of the whole story. This was the beautiful moment. Because then the 11th Doctor and the 10th Doctor and John Hurt's Doctor had to convince the Time Lord Council or Time Lord War Room or whatever about that this plan was going to work, which, they thought it was ludicrous, but they've always thought the Doctor's plans were ludicrous. But he said even if it was possible, it would take 1,000 years. It would take 100 centuries or some centuries and centuries of thinking. And of course, Matt Smith says, you're right, it would, but I've been starting on this since I began. And that's when it happened. We saw the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, the eighth, the ninth, the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th Doctors all coming to save Gallifrey. Oh, and wait, there's still more. Because we also got our first view of Peter Capaldi's Doctor. Now, true, we only got this much of his face and his hand, but we got a chance to see the last Doctor, or the newest Doctor. And they all rushed in to save Gallifrey. It was the most beautiful moment. But it gets more beautiful, and I'll get to that in a second. And as a result, the Daleks end up getting destroyed, and as far as they know, they don't know whether or not it worked for Gallifrey, whether it saved Gallifrey. So, ends up scenes change, and they're back at the art gallery now, and they're trying to sort of relaying their adventure, and they're wondering if it really worked. And, of course, John Hurt's Doctor says it's better to have failed at something right than to succeed at something wrong, which was very deep. And it's this point that he realizes he's not going to remember it anyways. Once timelines, straighten back out, he's going to forget that moment ever happened and continue thinking that he destroyed Gallifrey, which kind of leads up to this point of where we are anyways. That's what he's always thought up to this point. So he leaves in his TARDIS, and we get to see the key moment where he regenerates into Christopher Eccleston's Doctor. So we completed the cycle, which was absolutely gorgeous. And then, of course, David Tennant's Doctor, who earlier in the episode wanted to finally know where he was heading. He was tired of wandering about, where Matt Smith said, no, you don't. But now that he knows he was going to forget it anyways, he demanded to know where they were going. And that's when the 11th Doctor told him about Trenzalore. And that's where he was going to die. and be buried. So, I'm sort of leaving on a more bittersweet moment. David Tennant gave out that famous line he gave out in The End of Time Part 2 of, "I don't want to go." Of course, Matt Smith says he always says that. But then, the final moment, as Matt Smith was talking about how he could retire here and become the curator of the museum, and that's when he meets a special guest. It was the very person who played the Fourth Doctor. Tom Baker makes an appearance at the end. It's the most spectacular moment in all of Doctor Who history. It gave me goosebumps just seeing this moment. And to see him back, even though I'm not sure if he was playing the Doctor or whatnot, but I'll get to that in just a second. But to see Matt Smith and Tom Baker interact, it was absolutely joygasm. But if you have not seen that part, look it up on YouTube. They got it just on that part alone. You got to see that part. It is worth the price of admission alone. I wish I would have got the chance to see this episode in 3D, but the nearest theater was Raleigh, and I had no means of getting to Raleigh right now. And, of course, in England it was everywhere, but around here it wasn't. Obvious reasons, but it's been great. But overall, I think it was an awesome episode. I think Matt Smith played beautifully as usual, played his 11th Doctor to the key. I think David Tennant was back in form, playing that suave Doctor that we know, and including we finally got to see him marry Queen Elizabeth I, which was alluded to earlier in the series with David Tennant's Doctor, but we never saw it actually happen. So we finally got to see that moment and finally see how it got to transpire. And John Hurt, even though I was a little disappointed that we didn't really get to see his dark side, it was more like the grandfather role like William Hartnell played, I did enjoy his Doctor. He really played that classic, like I said, William Hartnell style Doctor, and it felt like a nice change of pace. The Zygons were an excellent enemy, even though maybe just a tad bit easily defeated. I was disappointed that the Daleks were not used more in this episode, but that may be made up for later. But what else? Clara, of course, Jenna-Louise Coleman, beautiful job as usual. And with Billie Piper, I was sort of disappointed, yet sort of excited. The fact is that she played the moment in the role, in the form of Rose Tyler / Bad Wolf was interesting, but I was hoping for Rose Tyler to actually be in the episode. But at the same time, this leads to more mystery because it makes you think that maybe the Bad Wolf still is around. And I'm hoping they explore that more, because it would be interesting to see how this all transpires. Maybe, because she said she's been in the Doctor's head for a long time, but I don't remember ever the moment being talked about before that, so how could that be? Unless that which possessed Rose Tyler was the moment the whole time, and used that time inside of her to bend things, so it would lead up to John Hurt's moment with the moment. But it was interesting, and I hope they explore a little more on that, because I think there's something deeper behind that than what was said. I think the woman who played the Brigadier's daughter did an outstanding job. She definitely did her acting father, it did him proud, that's for sure. And everyone else had great roles, including the assistant scientist with the scarf. I loved her part. Tried a little bit of comedic relief there. Now, as for the story itself, Ah, wow, so much to talk about there. But like I said, it was great seeing the doctors interact. They did wonderful. Uh, only I didn't reveal too much about um, wrapping up some things in Matt Smith's tenure, which I thought we were going to see something get wrapped up, other than the fact about what was John Hurt's character. And but apparently, in the time of the Doctor, we're supposed to get that official closure of his era to finally answer those questions that have been going throughout all his series. What else? Well, we also found out that John Hurt is an official Doctor. Now, the question is, does that make him the ninth Doctor? And if so, does that make Christopher Eccleston the 10th Doctor, David Tennant the 11th Doctor, and Matt Smith the 12th Doctor? Now, it's been said by Stephen Moffat that actually Matt Smith is the 13th Doctor. Now, that poses a real problem. Because what it is Stephen Moffat considered back in the episode when David Tennant and the whole cast and crew, the whole everyone from David Tennant's era joined up to fight the Daleks. Rose Tyler, Donna Noble, Jack, Captain Jack, Martha Jones. They all went to fight the Daleks that had stolen Earth. That was the episode. I was trying to think of the name of the episode, and it wasn't popping in my head, but Stolen Earth. And I forgot my train of thought there. But yeah, I mean, I really lost my train of thought. But sorry if I'm going on here a little bit, but oh, yeah, okay. Now I remember what I was saying. Sorry about that. But yeah, but during that episode, David Tennant's Doctor got shot by a Dalek. Well, sort of zinged. He wasn't directly shot, but it was enough to cause him to start to regenerate. And he used the regeneration to heal himself, but he didn't want to change his form. So he sort of siphoned his rest of his regeneration energy into his severed hand that he had back in the Christmas Invasion episode. And as a result, that hand became what is known as the Metacrisis Doctor. Half human, half Time Lord. And Stephen Moffat considers that an actual regeneration, as well as Paul McGann's regeneration into John Hurt. So, if that's the case, Matt Smith's the 13th Doctor, but as you know, the Doctor is only allowed 12 regenerations. And if that's the case, that's his last regeneration, and how is Peter Capaldi going to be the Doctor? That's leading to a very huge dilemma, and I'm sure that will be explained in the time of the Doctor. And we also know, though, that that rule can be broken, even though Stephen Moffat says, yeah, it can't be broken. We know it can, because the Masters broke it. How many times has he broke it? He broke it during the old series, because he had used up all his regenerations, and he was left with a husk of a dying body, and he had to find a new host body, just so he could get a new form. And then, of course, in the movie, Doctor Who the movie, he was exterminated by the Daleks, and he ended up possessing a human, and attempted, of course, to steal the rest of the Doctor's regenerations. And then, of course, in the David Tennant's era, we found out that the Time Lords had given the Master a whole new set of regenerations and a new life so he could fight the Time War. So, we do know there's ways around the 12 regeneration rule. And I'm I'm guessing they're going to figure something out, because Peter Capaldi's now would be the 14th Doctor, even though Stephen Moffat has continued to say that the numbering is still going to stay the same. So Matt Smith's still the 11th Doctor, David Tennant's still the 10th, Christopher Eccleston's the 9th, and Peter Capaldi's going to be considered the 12th Doctor. But like I said, it's hard to say that after saying that these regenerations mattered, and as a result, he's now the 14th. So we'll see how that all transpires. Another thing, though, was watching all the Doctors come to the rescue of Gallifrey. Absolutely great, man. It just, it was that moment you were waiting for, because all this time, you heard that there was going to be no other Doctors in it. True, none of the actual original actors played it, except for Tom Baker, and I'll get that in a second. But it was great to see him again as the Doctor, even though it was just using stock footage from their episodes in the TARDIS, including Christopher Eccleston, who was going to be in it but turned down the role. But it was an excellent ending, even though I think the methods of solving the dilemmas of both saving Gallifrey and stopping the Zygons was a little simplistic. But, I forgive it, because it's the 50th anniversary. It was all supposed to be a love letter to the fans. That's what it was supposed to be. Give us what we want. And I think it did. I think it gave us everything we really wanted in a Doctor Who episode. So I can't come away completely disappointed. I mean, as a writer, I can't help it, because, I don't know, I see flaws and things that sometimes other people don't see. But overall, I really did enjoy the episode, and I will watch it again and 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 again. But that's just a Doctor Who fan of me. But I mean, it's definitely left some interesting questions, and that brings us to the preview of the Time of the Doctor, which we know now he's heading back to Trenzalore. And it's all apparently some kind of trap laid by the church, which was last seen in A Good Man Goes to War. And this is going to bring him in confrontation with the Silence, the Angels, the Daleks, the Cybermen, and there have been some rumors that the Centaurans are going to also be there. So it's going to be one hell of a fight. And I mean, this is supposed to bring it all to a head. This is supposed to let us know what was going on with the Silence. What was the deal with Prisoner Zero? What was the Doctor's biggest fear in that room in the God Complex? That room with the number 11 on it. And as you know, for all the Doctor Who fans out there know that one of those doors, each door was for one person, and it was supposed to show them their biggest fears. So everyone wondered what the Doctor's biggest fear was. And according to some of the previews, they showed that scene, so that will be revealed as well. But it's supposed to answer all different kinds of questions concerning Matt Smith's era in Doctor Who. So it's going to be really exciting. And I'm just wondering how they're going to answer this question about Peter Capaldi, because, I mean, is he going to be the 14th Doctor, 12th Doctor, 11th Doctor, 400th Doctor? I mean, how's Matt Smith going to go past his limit of regenerations? And there have been some rumors that the Time Lords are going to have some part in this, but we'll see. It's all rumors at this point. But also, we know another fact, that's a possibility that Matt Smith's Doctor is going to have something happen to him that no other Doctors really had to deal with to a certain extent. He's going to lose a limb before he regenerates. And I'm not talking about like a hand. He's going to lose a leg to an angel. That's what I've been hearing anyways. Whether or not that transgresses on, we'll see. Because I'm anticipating watching this episode as much as you are. And I'm really excited to see how this all is going to go down. But it also saddens me because I don't want to see Matt Smith go. And I felt the same way when David Tennant left. At the end of the time, it was a bittersweet moment. And it took me a while to get used to Matt Smith. Now that I've gotten used to him, you know, he's definitely up there on my top list of favorite doctors. But, what do I think's gonna happen? Oh, my lord. I mean, we're gonna finally figure out a lot of stuff, and I think the name of the doctor may be finally revealed, because Stephen Moffat said that the question hadn't been asked. The oldest question in the universe, the one that is pretty much staring us in the face, and we know what that question is. It's Doctor Who. Doctor Who. So, who is the Doctor? Doctor Who. Anyways, but, so, maybe we're going to finally see his name. I mean, I know some people don't want the mystery to go away and don't want too much to be revealed, but you know what? We're getting close to that point. There's supposed to be no more doctors. It's time to reveal some stuff. And I'm ready to see it. I really am. So, I'm hoping everyone enjoyed the Day of the Doctor. I sure did. Me personally, I give it a 4 out of 5. Only reason I didn't give it a 5 because of my disappointment in those little areas. But other than that, I mean, it's a Doctor Who episode. It's one to be watched. It's one to be repeatedly watched over and over and over again. And it's one to get for your DVD collection for those who collect the Doctor Who DVDs. So, I definitely... Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I didn't think about this. Okay, in the end of the time, the Time Lords that came through the portal were from at the end of the Time War, and apparently, you know, it was said that Rassilon was planning to end time itself, to end the war, and to transcend into this ultimate being with the rest of the Time Lords. Does that mean that because they stopped that Rassilon still lives? And, oh my god, that could be big. What if that's going to happen in the time of the Doctor? Maybe Rassilon's going to continue his quest to end time. And because the Doctor reversed what happened, Rassilon's still alive, he can still continue his plan. Oh dear God. They're going to end time! I gotta find a way to stop him. Maybe if I go back in time and warn the Doctor. No, he'll never listen to my future self. You know, take wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, boom, freaking paradoxical crap. I know. I'll go back in time. I'll warn myself. And myself, can go warn the Doctor. And we can put a stop to this and stop Rassilon. What do I need? What do I need? Okay, gotta go. What do I need? What do I need? Oh, that's right. That'll do just fine. I'm sure James won't mind. That'll do. Oh, wait a minute. Perfect. All right, let's go. Okay, now let's see. All I need, oh, I need a sonic screwdriver. There we go. All right, now I know I'm missing one more thing. What is it? What could it be? Let's see. Now, what was it? It had to be something, but what was it? Oh, come on. This has got to be staring me practically in the face. Of course, the fedora. Fedoras are cool. So are sunglasses. It's time once again to save the universe. Geronimo!